without further ado, I do want to introduce the founder and CEO of Keiretsu Forum globally, Randy Williams, to share the floor with us, so to speak. Welcome, Randy.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here to continually build the bridge between Sydney Harbor and Silicon Valley, Golden Gate Bridge, and throughout the world.
Very good. By the way, I think we'll probably be changing our backgrounds shortly to represent more parts of Australia. Keiretsu is definitely, in this part of the world, definitely not just about Sydney. So it's one of the iconic landscapes.
Well, looking at, obviously, your background, Victor, but yes, Melbourne and obviously Australasia, including what you're, obviously, you have great leadership.
Yeah. So we've prepared a bunch of questions which I guess could help paint the scene and set the landscape for the audience today, Randy, many of whom have not attended such a virtual forum before, or are probably not very familiar with Keiretsu Forum. And it's great to have you as a horse's mouth to share your perspectives and unique insights, not only on the background of Keiretsu, but also some of the things that it is currently doing and is looking forward to do. How does that sound?
Perfect. Game on.
Okay, so we've decided to focus firstly on a few standout questions in terms of introducing Keiretsu as an organization. So could you share with the audience how many deals Keiretsu assisted with or facilitated during 2018 and 19?
So 2018, we had $82 million globally, and typical investment by a member can be as low as 25 up to $250,000 US. But it's 194 companies. Well, in 2019, we actually increased the number of deals invested, but it was close to 82, again, 82 million. And we're going to exceed, in this virtual environment, probably 100 million this year. Again, we are not VCs, we're early stage investors. So that is a lot of capital provided by our 3,600 members around the world.
Great, thanks. What sectors were these deals typically in?
Well, you know, one thing unique about Keiretsu Forum is we like to see the whole ecosystem of opportunities, including brick and mortar. So we invest in businesses, we invest in real estate. In fact, in Northern California, we've done almost $500 million in real estate throughout the US. We're not obviously seeing a trend, Victor, toward a lot of obviously healthcare, life science opportunities. Especially a lot of our companies have pivoted, fortunate in the last 3 months, in providing masks and providing ventilators and really working obviously with some of the issues around the world. So our sectors have changed over the years. This is our 20th year. I was fortunate to start Keiretsu Forum in September 2000. So we're moving into our 21st year. When I stop there, I want to make sure I address your questions.
That's great. So of those deals, do you have a handle on the approximate percentage invested in by, let's say, corporate institutional investors versus individual angels?
Well, you know, our hope, and we just don't see a lot of IPOs at Keiretsu Forum because most of the companies grow to 50 to 100, $150 million valuations, and they're at that time ready for strategics to come in. And so a lot of our members enjoy obviously getting obviously stock in public companies. I mean, yes, we ring the bell probably once a year on opportunities here in America and NASDAQ, and also and we're right now doing something in Toronto with the exchange up there. But you know, a lot of our companies get taken out between 50 and 100 million with strategics. Great.
Okay. And what trends would you say you saw in 2019?
Well, we were looking toward a correction and a recession, and we talked about it too much. And we were wondering what we would do if it came. Well, it's here. And the good news is there's a lot of powder dry. Interfacing with Fortress and BlackRock the last couple of months, there's so much capital going to come in the market. And this is a time that I think valuations are going to possibly decrease. There's going to be many more opportunities for angel investors to invest lower amounts of money. Obviously, as companies are meeting their milestones, they'll invest more. But we think finally we're embracing a tremendous challenge and opportunity in the next couple of years. So the trends are, there's going to be BKs, bankruptcies throughout the world. Here in America, we're seeing it already. We have great empathy, but conversely, as investors, there's great opportunities ahead for us.
Right. Now, could you talk to of some of the perhaps more memorable or notable deals? Were they cross-border, and how many of the deals were cross-border? Any notable market expansion case studies that you can talk to?
Well, I mentioned a moment ago about ringing the bell. So there's a company called Sephora, and today's market cap is 128 million, and it went public. I rang the bell with Rob Neville. This is several years ago. But one thing interesting about that opportunity, the biotech marketplace at that time, when he was raising most of his capital infusion, wasn't in the VCs and or the ecosystem of Wall Street. And so he came to angels, and we did 14.5 million. And I saw him in Istanbul chapter. I saw him in Toronto chapter. I saw him throughout Northern California. So he went to 7 or 8 of our chapters. So we're always open for business. And during the times when Wall Street's not open, we're still open. And so he used us, and he deserved the capital. And fortunately, the market cap grew, and a lot of our investors liquidated. I'm still a holder of that. I've made 57 investments at Keiretsu. Obviously, I'm part of the general partner of the funds, and that's 180 companies in that portfolio. But as far as my investments, I love Rob because he's solving. I love impact. A lot of our members do like impact investing, and this one is solving cystic fibrosis for young kids around the world. And they've introduced other verticals, and we will see that company grow. Not suggesting you buy it; it's publicly traded, but I like impact investing, and so. One thing, a company that's doing well at Keiretsu Forum, as you may know, Victor, we top it off at Keiretsu Capital. We had a company today, Lumathera, and they have raised about 3.5 million from us. But Keiretsu Capital is always there to not only draft off our wonderful members' expertise, not only knowledge but capital. The funds will come in, and we've done 4 tranches with them, and that company will probably. The valuation we invested was probably a 4 pre, 6 post, and it's going to probably go out between 250 to 500 million. Today, he said, well, looks like we have probably a 12 to 14x. And so why this is important is because there's capital throughout our network. We have 53 locations around the world. So if a company is doing well, there's always capital there. Where I lost money as an angel investor before I started Keiretsu Forum is they didn't have the resources. Not only, introductions to customers, but they didn't have the capital resources. Here, if a company is doing well, Victor, and colleagues and members at Australasia, they always have a better chance to move toward what we always want, which is some type of liquid event. Doesn't necessarily have to be, obviously, an exit toward IPO. Can be with a strategic. And then we can take the run with the strategic toward, hopefully, a great exit thereafter.
Right. That's a great illustration. And just on that, if I can just build on that a little bit more, obviously for this part of the world, for Australasia, being a small country in population, folks are very, very focused on tapping the greater international market. And indeed, as you know, that's one of the biggest reasons why I signed up to take on, to run this chapter for this region, is to build a greater conduit to connect folks with international resources and capital, to your point. So can you talk a little bit more about that connectivity of investors and entrepreneurs from this part to the rest, including how technology may be leveraged in that?
Well, I don't want to be precocious saying the best deal flow is coming from Silicon Valley. maybe 20 plus years ago it was. Yes, the world does gather at Silicon Valley, but as you know, Victor, we both travel globally. There's great deal flow all around the world. Ironically, when you were talking, I wanted to grab a piece of paper, and this is May 10th, and this company is Aquarius Marine Container Fund. Well, it came to us 8 years ago, and at that time there's only maybe 15 chapters. There was no chapters, of course, in Australasia. This would have been a great investment to share, but they are basically investing in containers around the world. So this is what he said to our LPs. We have now distributed you in cash 140% of your original equity capital investment. We'll be, and then he said it'll be the next year, he'll be probably distributing another 40–50%. But you know, things like that, maybe only 18 of our Keiretsu Forum members in Silicon Valley, that would have received probably 100 throughout the world. And it's nice to see, I mean, that's not a 4X for us, but conversely, it's nice to have cash flow, but it's nice to do deals around the world. And my hope is we'll create a deeper bridge, as I said, between Sydney Harbor. I know you're in Melbourne and other places. Let's create a bridge back to the Golden Gate.
Great. So one of the things that has been asked a lot, and we certainly get asked a lot, is Keiretsu in the rankings. And I think some people may already know about this among the audience, but for those that don't, could you talk to the Keiretsu's latest global rankings?
Well, we're blessed because our members are very prolific as investors. But I always say this, yes, we have a lot of capital through our network, but our members are very gracious from the heart, and they give obviously a lot of resources. What does resources mean? It's customers, it's helping the company. I can imagine probably at least 10 to 15 companies a year get great board members from our esteemed members. But we're blessed to be #1 in both early stage and later stage investing this last year. Last 3 years on early stage investing, we're #1. And I remember probably 15 years ago, there were a lot of angel groups were not reporting anything. And I started reporting not only liquidity events, but fundings. And fortunately, now other groups are reporting from plug and play, etc. And so it's great being #1, but conversely, we're not resting our laurels. All we want to do is, help entrepreneurs, and conversely, they help us with great returns. But it's really a two-way street. Again, the resources can be more powerful than capital. And so we have so many resources of everybody that's part of your community here, Victor. Let's help these companies. Getting back to Aquarius Finance, if they had come, in fact, they probably will do another tranche and about another LLC, and we should do something together. We should do something with great success between Silicon Valley and Australasia together. And yes, but we are #1 to answer your question.
Great. Thanks for reminding us. So obviously, right now, there's been a lot of talk about the current economic and other climate. But since the onset of the coronavirus pandemic, and obviously you guys over there in the States side is feeling it pretty tough at the moment. As an investor, how have you observed how this has changed the way that investors behave and assess deals, and how is it impacting investing?
Well, Paramount, what we've done with our portfolio, and we probably have now 1,400 active companies. The rest of either, we obviously have failures, but conversely, obviously we have a lot of liquidity events. We've gone out this last 3 months and offered, and told them how to access PPP. Some of the programs here in America helping, obviously, employees and helping our companies. Even in Keiretsu Capital, which is we have a blockchain fund, we have real estate fund, and we have top-off tech funds. Of our 180 companies, 160 companies got relief from the United States government. It's an amazing time right now, but that won't last, hopefully. We don't want to obviously have so much debt, which we do in America, but we're here to help the companies. Now, yes, there's government relief, but conversely, our members, not only they're charitable, we have a foundation to give 113 different charities here in America. Our last event we had was last week, and I collected 400 pounds of cans for homeless shelter here in Northern California.
Right.
That's the giving nature of our community, and I know that's the giving nature of your community too, Victor.
Okay. Yeah, that's great to hear. I guess government relief is absolutely important. In terms of deals being done, are you seeing some movements, changes since the onset of the pandemic? Valuations compressed or terms changing? What could you comment on that?
Let me point some examples. Link Capital is a portfolio of companies, East Coast based. I've been a happy investor personally. Keiretsu Capital is also an investor. They raised about $7 million through us. And they're simply put their mortgage fund, and they're providing seconds and first anywhere from 6 to 9%. And just this pivot this last couple of months, now they're getting anywhere from 11 to 14%. Because the banks, retreated in many respects. And so just things like that. One thing unique about Keiretsu is we do a lot of brick and mortar, which I alluded earlier. But in Northern California, we've done almost $500 million of real estate transactions. We love real estate, from equity to obviously debt. We're doing, there's a company presenting right now. This is our forum week, and there's opportunity zones in America, which not only, obviously you got to select it because it's making good investments, but conversely, it's great tax relief, and people are looking at that because all our members, are extremely high net worth individuals, and they need that type of tax relief when they invest. But getting back to technology, we're seeing the valuations. Everybody is negotiable. They'll come in with a pre of 6, 7, or 8 million. First question says, can we discuss with you why we feel it might be 3 or 4 or 5 million? And that's the leverage of Keiretsu Forum. Yes, they recognize the great swarm intelligence, the mind share, obviously not only capital, but they also recognize they need to negotiate with us because we have leverage, because we're not a bully, but conversely, if we're going to provide $3 or $4 million in a round for you, Victor, here in America, that we do something together, that valuation is going to change because we have the leverage. Now, we're not using it unwisely. We're using it because they need to win, but we need to win. Where I lost money as an angel investor before I started Keiretsu Forum was always on valuation. I picked good companies, but guess who made money? The founders did, the angels didn't. So I've taken that with me the last 21 years. So we really work really hard on the valuations. Yes, we can make mistakes, but let's not make a mistake on the valuation.
So that sounds like there's really a lot of opportunities right now in terms of that general broad flexibility in terms of pricing. It sounds like there are some great bargain hunting to be had. What would you say, and what have you seen in the last couple of months? And I know you have been attending a lot of these virtual pitching sessions all around the world. Where are you seeing the smart money sort of congregating to in terms of sectors and life stages and so on?
Okay, so where I've been, and it's a wonderful lens into our culture, I've been in Sweden, Istanbul, Toronto, Korea, Northwest, obviously our chapters throughout the United States, and I can't read my writing, and Southern California. And I think there's a trend toward big time health science and healthcare and health science. And so we are seeing more opportunities in that arena. We think the sales cycle is way too long toward exit, but I think that's decreasing. And so I get back to I get back to the valuations have gone way down. We had a company come to us and probably $20 million valuation, and we saw it today, and it's down to $6 million. And again, everybody's going to win, but the valuation has to be correct. So you're asking for what asset class is the best? Is that what?
Well, so health and life sciences, that makes total sense.
I think real estate is going to go through a lot of issues. I think multifamily is going to be strong. Obviously, office is not going to be. I look at what we work. Look what's going on in the sector. But there's going to be arbitrage there, and I was talking to some of our biggest partners today, Wells Fargo and Bank of America, which are sponsors in America. And I was blessed to take company IPO 28 years ago, and we went after the RTC and OTC opportunities in America. And we obviously travel international, and so there's going to be some major foreclosures, and we're going to see those at Keiretsu. And so if your powder's dry, get ready. And I'm excited.
The residential property, life sciences, opportunity to connect more virtually with fellow members around the world than ever before.
Victor, there's a company you and I invested in,
yes.
Link2. I mean, this is probably the best of time right now for Link2 to be virtual, to really create a virtual a membership community around the world. And we think the world of Bill Saris, and a shout out. I don't think he's on the call. Maybe he is, but it's great to support. And we like supporting great GPs like Bill.
Yes, the numbers that he shares with me on a monthly basis, it just is always mind-boggling. The amount of investors and deals that they upload, I think something like 10,000 deals every few months. It's just mind-boggling.
Well, our blockchain fund has 110 investments in it right now, and we're a fund-to-fund instrument there. And we've picked, fortunately, the great VCs to interface with, like Andreessen, et cetera. But the blockchain, as you know, Victor, it's going to be more than needed the next year. And so I know that you obviously have an appetite for crypto. In America, that's not our appetite because of SEC issues. But throughout the world, we like to look at all. But blockchain is pretty impressive right now, the returns.
Yeah, well, you know that we're big about that from a Sapien point of view. Sounds like there's perhaps opportunities to leverage Link2 and some of the blockchain capabilities to create more global virtualized syndicates.
Well, my joy is connecting, and so you're speaking to someone that loves that. And so whenever we can do things like that and help, obviously our companies and help our members, and our members, it's fantastic to see, and a lot of our members, have great humility or modest. And, when I say, hey, you should be on board of this company, and then we want to help the company, but conversely, we don't have a solicitation platform at Keiretsu, meaning our members don't solicit, which is fantastic. But when we put people together, it's fantastic to see our companies grow, and our members do well, obviously, but they're adding value. And we have a lot of members that are, in the 50s, 60s, that, that had tremendous past experience and expertise. Why not sit on boards? Why not help these companies toward a path of exit?
And how can companies from, for example, this part of the world more readily tap into that? What are some avenues? I mean, do they just pick up the phone, call one of the chapter presidents, and how do they discover what opportunities there are to tap an experienced hand to guide as a board director or advisor?
Well, they have to ask, and they need probably to present. And so I'm going to do a very large event in November. We are going to do a large event, and I want to have your best of class companies come, and I will comp the companies. I want to make sure we have the best and brightest around the world. But here's a shout out to whatever companies you want to send, Victor. But that's where it starts. Our companies, obviously through our green sheet, through our communication between our chapter presidents. We have a Slack channel. Every day we see very interesting companies traveling the world, and we always insert this company needs this or that. But for a company, they have to be proactive. The best companies I invest in, the CEO and team, understand the resources are much more powerful than the mother's milk, which is not capital, it's resources. But they have to ask. And I like to see these companies, be proactive. And it can come from Jay and you, Victor. You could just pick up the phone and say, hey, this company needs some adult supervision in this particular channel and or needs board seats, board expertise. So we have it, and you have it too, and we need to, use your channels too.
So perhaps maybe get people to register such interest or requirements through the Keiretsu Connect app. Could that be one way?
Absolutely, great idea. Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah, we don't Keiretsu Forum into an HR, because I was thinking about doing a LinkedIn before LinkedIn was created, 20 years ago. Let's create a resource, but I
There
didn't
you
want
go.
to
We
create.
missed out on creating LinkedIn.
Exactly. I didn't want to create a solicitation platform. I wanted, I wanted to come from the heart. Members were really giving of the board position because there's a real, obviously, there's real expertise. They weren't doing it because they needed to make a living. Well, LinkedIn is about making a living in many respects.
Just we're pretty much coming up to time. So just in closing, what could you share with the audience about the future of Keiretsu globally?
Well, two things you didn't ask me briefly. One, why did I start it? Number one, I started because of my lack of discipline and expertise as an investor. And I really needed swarm intelligence in my share community. And these 57 investments I've made at Keiretsu Forum directly, my wife and I, if I had done that out in the marketplace, outside of Keiretsu, I would have lost my money. I'm at 38% IRR on my capital because I have smart people around me. So be part of a community, and hopefully it's Keiretsu Forum community globally. Number two, Keiretsu, what's the name mean? It's a term of synergy. I was able to retire doing Japanese business and back and forth in Japan. And the real Keiretsu, or the synergy, is the members coming together and enjoying mind share. I thought, well, I want to name it that because, my friends at Kleiner Perkins, they had a quote unquote Keiretsu portfolio companies. I said, that's cool. It's going back 25 years ago. But, it's not the companies. Yes, we have shared knowledge between the companies, but the shared knowledge is really the members among each other and then sharing it back to companies. And the last question was, what did you ask?
What could people look forward to in the future and hopefully near future with Keiretsu globally? By the way, it's great that you filled in for the Genesis story.
Yes. Well, I think personally, there's a lot of joy in participation, and I think when your members become more active and get involved. Like today, we had a due diligence report by Dr. Chris Alpert, who chairs our life science committee here in Northern California, and we have 10 different committees from real estate to health science to blockchain. But anyhow, what he did on the right side above me reporting for 90 seconds. Again, there's no vested interest. All the members are giving of themselves, but there's, in fact, Fred Cohen's on the call right now. He was part of the due diligence team. There's probably 15 members on the right side, and he acknowledged all their great work. And I love that. It's all pro bono. Now, what happens when due diligence is done is our members then get great knowledge. Our VC friends love our 150-page books created by the members. And Fred, during this course of conversation tonight, you may want to chime in on our due diligence efforts because it's very special, because members are giving, and through joy of participation, members are growing together. People join Keiretsu Forum, obviously, for diverse deal flow and making great investments. Why do they stay? Because of community.